Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rain Wayland. Well, 2 weeks, buddy.
2 weeks. Yep.
2 weeks. Yeah, everyone. If you saw our post that I wrote, I'm sure people figured that out. I realized after I posted it, I didn't put like love rain at the end.
Love rain.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we took, not on purpose, we were just going to take a week off. Just because Jeremy and I both agreed that this movie was going to need our full-fledged attention. And then you had some family stuff. I didn't know if you wanted to get into it.
I can tell everyone. No, I can tell. My Nana passed away. She was 96 years old, almost 97. She would have been 97 on the 30th this month.
Oh.
I know. And yeah, so I was down in Midland for, I don't know, almost a week, I guess. Unfortunately, dude, like, funerals, man. So we drive down on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And you know, they're trying to figure stuff out. They're trying to schedule things, which is a nightmare. And if one thing was available, one thing wasn't, right? And you need both to happen, right? And so like the church would be available, but the funeral home wouldn't be available. So it's like, well, okay, what about this day? Well, the funeral home is available, but the church isn't. Okay, what about the next day, right? And then it's like, well, this does the burial plot, like those guys aren't available that day, so you know, and so it ended up being today, as we're recording this on Tuesday. So Haley and I had missed that because we're trying to save as many of our days as we possibly can. And I don't even think we've said it on the show before, but Haley and I are having a baby.
I don't think we have.
We're having a little girl, and so we need to save our days so we can use those later. So for maternity and paternity leave. So, but we called mom today. She's doing fine. You know, all of her siblings were there. Her cousins showed up. And if it weren't a roller coaster of emotions enough, today is also my mom's birthday.
God.
I know. Again, tomorrow when people hear this, you know, whatever. Today, the 11th, is her birthday. So, I know.
Yeah, man. I told Ashley, I was like, and I even texted Haley. I was like, if we can make it work, like, you know, definitely want to take them out. But if we can't, not a big deal. It's not like we're not seeing you guys in a month or anything like that.
Right.
So, but yeah, everyone, you know, it sucks that Jeremy had to go through that, but you know, your Nana, she lived a full life, I would say.
Oh, and how? Yeah.
96, man. 96. I think most people strive to make it to 96 and have such an amazing life.
Yeah. So we're going to miss my Nana, but we're so happy that we got her to begin with in our lives. So, you know, we're very happy that we got a little bit of Nana, you know. And even I was getting messages from people that, you know, only knew her through me or only like heard of her through me. So that was cool that people were like, oh my God, I remember you told me this about your Nana, or I remember, you know, so that was sweet. That was nice.
Yeah. And another thing, a terrible segue. As you can tell, everyone who's listening or watching, we are back on video.
Yep.
First episode back, and also first new episode in Ashley and I's new apartment. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it looks barren, but that's because we really wanted to keep our bedroom. I'm in our new bedroom, which I know you could tell. But we wanted to keep our new bedroom kind of minimalist and avoid putting as many holes in the wall, because you should have seen the old apartment, there were so many holes in the wall that we just hung so much stuff. So like my movies right there are not anchored into the wall.
Yeah.
But thankfully the sheer weight.
These are not.
And thankfully the sheer weight of all my movies are keeping it up.
Yeah, that usually helps. They're heavy enough to where like they don't move. Yeah. No, it could be worse.
Yeah, but so here we are in the new apartment, trying out the different rooms. Maybe next week I might record in the living room, depending on how this all works out.
Wow, this is going to be just a mystery. Everywhere can be like, where in the world is Rainn Wayland today on this episode?
Ashley,
I'm outside.
Ashley was like, she was like, you should do a virtual background. I'm like, I don't think we can on Riverside.
No,
I don't know. I haven't tried.
What a shame.
But yeah, everyone. That's just some updates. Why we were gone for 2 weeks. Even if your Nana hadn't passed away, I probably would have told you we need to wait another week because my bones were tired after the move, bro. Like, I was wrecked. I told Ashley that if we are able to move to Austin next year, we're hiring movers. I'm not doing this again. Like, I was wrecked by the end of the night. Like, done.
Yeah. Been there.
Yeah. I was like, we're done. No. If we move to Austin, we're paying people, and we will pay them extra if they drive 10 miles under the speed limit. We're not doing that again.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's hard moving, and if you find movers that won't break your stuff but also won't bankrupt you, I think it's totally worth it. Yeah.
You guys didn't use movers, right?
No, but the last time we moved, it was just next door, right? So
so you just had to go.
Yeah. And again, after a while, you're sort of like, this one does have the extra bedroom, but they still look identical. And so you walk in, you're like, oh man, which one am I in? Like I'd be in the bedroom and go, oh no, that's right, I'm in the old one. And then you just takes up because after a while they even out. Yeah. Everyone.
That's where we've been at. But I think enough farting around. So Jeremy, not saying what happened with your Nana was farting around, by the way.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, would you like to remind everyone what we're doing today?
Yes. Today, we are discussing last year's 2023, if those of you listening in the future, 2023's surrealist road epic from Ari Aster, Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, Beau is Afraid. I was not expecting the runtime of this movie.
Right, it's a healthy 3 hours. This runtime.
I finished the movie. So for those of you who remember when we did Hereditary, another one of Ari Aster's movies, I did not finish the movie just because it was very much I get it.
We're going to be making some comparisons. I will be making some comparisons to Hereditary in this, so I guess Zach will understand.
Well, and I feel like I've said it on the show before, like, and I've told Ashley this, like, I wouldn't shut up about it. She was like, yeah, you're really triggered by this. Look, I'm not saying Ari Aster is a terrible director. I'm not saying that at all. I think he does have a very unique vision in his writing and direction. His brand of horror is just not for me. I also wish, and I'm sure I've said this on the show, I wish he would just say things what they are. Hereditary, it's a family drama. No, it's a horror movie. Midsummer, it's a breakup movie. No, it's a horror movie. So for me, going into Beau's Afraid and you telling me that it's a dark comedy and that's what it is, it was like, okay, I can do that.
Did you
I'm
laugh?
gonna be 100. Well, I'm gonna be 100% honest, buddy.
Yeah.
I felt very ambivalent towards it.
Okay.
I
That's fine.
neither disliked it nor I liked it,
Okay.
except for the last 35 minutes. That I was like, this should have been the whole movie.
Okay. That's interesting.
Where was this?
Uh-huh.
Except for the reveal, which I want to save for the reveal that we get in that last 30 minutes. But okay, so if you can, try to tell people the plot of this movie.
Sure. Beau Wasserman is a very anxious man who has a tumultuous relationship with his mother. He's very dependent on her, and she is very controlling of him. As he's trying to get himself together to go visit his mother, some surreal circumstances take place, and he is unable to. He then finds, through calling her again, that she has died. And so the movie primarily is him on his way to go and see his mother and to go pay his respects for the funeral service. Obviously, lots of things happen on his way to his mother's house, and we discover a lot about Beau. We discover a lot about Mona, his mother, along the way. Mostly that not only does she control his life, but she controls a lot of other people's lives too. She is the she is the architect of this world. And as we follow Beau through these journeys and through these trials and tests, on his way to his mother, again, we find out why he is the way he is and how he could potentially change. And that is Beau is Afraid, without ruining anything. And now we can discuss.
Yeah, that was really good.
Okay.
I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I can start with we can start with first impressions. I'll go for. So, those who listen to the show, those who know me, know that I do love Ari Aster. He is my Wes Anderson to you. Okay. I saw Hereditary twice in 3 days when it was in theaters. I saw Midsummer, I think, opening weekend. I saw Beau opening day. And we had just moved here to McKinney when it came out. And so I was working at my other job before I had my new job. And I was bummed at that other job. And so anything to lift my spirits I was taking. And so I was so excited to see Beau is Afraid. So excited that I knew the movie originally as Disappointment Boulevard.
Which, to be honest, I like that title better.
Okay. Fair. Like a year or so before it came out, it was called Disappointment Boulevard on IMDb, which is a cool title. And I saw it. I went to the theater, and I was blown away by it. I loved the tone. I thought it was different enough from the horror stuff that we had gotten from Ari Aster before, yet it still had this dread that, you know, was sprinkled throughout, and it was darkly funny. Joaquin Phoenix is incredible in it. I would give, so in terms of who did the best, I would say it was Joaquin Phoenix, and then the one who made me laugh the most was Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane gets, second for me. He was incredible. And, and Amy Ryan and Zoe Lister-Jones, and Patti LuPone and Parker Posey. That was a surprise.
I was about to say, you're going to say Parker Posey?
And Parker Posey was a surprise. I thought she was incredible. So I remember, usually this happens when I see a movie that I'm so excited to see, and it meets or exceeds my expectations. At the end of the movie, I'm grinning from ear to ear, right? This was like an extra bit of excitement because, as
I apologize if anyone can hear that. Being in a 1-bedroom now, it echoes more.
And so, like at the very end, how the credits roll, I was ecstatic, right? I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to happen. Because once it ends, you're sort of like, well, now what? I kind of hope the credits keep going over it, and it did, and that was very exciting for me. So I loved it. There were more people in the theater seeing it than I was expecting. I was expecting me and maybe 2 other people. And yet there were several people in that theater. 20, 30 people in there, which is a lot for this, right? Yeah. For this movie. So that was great. That was a good surprise. There are things in this film that people might try to define the whole movie by, or point out as the main event, or the most shocking event, which would be the attic, which I don't find to be the peak of the movie, right? Like that, to me, the attic is just like an extra kick in the teeth, right? Like, I don't think it's like the high, like, end all be all point of the movie. Like, that's not, in fact, I wouldn't say you could figure this movie out at all. I really don't think that's the point of it. It's a puzzle. But anyway, before we get into it, your first thoughts, be as honest as you can, and try to figure out where you land.
Okay, so
sorry, my cat was on the counter. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. It seems like both of our animals are acting a fool. Okay, so as I just kind of mentioned in the top of the show, I've never, like I said, Ari Aster's brand of horror is just not it for me. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what is about it. I'm just like, this ain't it. This ain't it, Chief. But I remember hearing when it was Disappointment Boulevard, I remember hearing about it. And I remember reading the cast list, and as soon as I saw Walking Phoenix, I was like, okay. And this is also right around the time, I distinctly remember this, The Whale was announced. And so I was like, okay, even better. And I remember following the movie, and then I saw the first trailer, and I was like, okay, I could get on board with this. I unfortunately did not get to see it in the theater because, as we both know, the Midland West area it's hard to get an A24 movie here.
Yeah, it's shoddy at best.
Yeah. I'm surprised we even saw X, Pearl, and Men here. So.
Oh, I completely agree. Especially Men. I couldn't believe it.
Dude, yeah. Which makes me hope we get Maxine, but I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get Maxine. Don't worry about that.
Anyway, so I did not get to see it in theaters. And I really didn't get to see it at all until it was available on Blu-ray. But I just never got around to buying it. So literally last night was the first time I'd ever seen the movie. And I went in with some high expectations. I'm going to be honest. Because I really thought, I was like, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one that makes me finally like Ari Aster. And like I said again at the top of the show, I'm not saying he's a bad director. I see, just like how you feel with Wes Anderson, I see that he has a very unique vision, and I 100% respect that. This feels like a cop-out, but I almost felt like it was too surrealist. And that's saying something, considering you have also turned me into a David Lynch disciple. So I'm not uncomfortable with surrealism, but something about this, I was like, it's almost too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I still went in with an open mind. I was like, it's okay. Like, I understand this. It's going to be weird. I especially loved the play sequence. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. The play sequence was awesome.
Yeah.
110% loved that. But a lot of it is just like, what? And I was trying to unravel the mystery. And we'll get into it, but Ari Aster lays 1% of crumbs to try to help. If there is even a mystery, try to unravel the mystery. But yeah, I just I don't know. So I said, I am sort of ambivalent towards it. I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it either. It's just I'm just kind of right in the middle, because you're right. I'm sure, as we've talked about with You Were Never Really Here, Joaquin, I've never seen him do a bad role.
Mm-hmm.
He was amazing as Beau. This sort of paranoid shell of a man. He killed it. And then yeah, I agree with you. Nathan Lane stole every scene he was in. Especially with the whole "How you doing, my dude?"
My dude.
His whole "How do you do, fellow kids?"
Exactly.
way of talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, again, and like I said, the last 30 to 35 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
I was in it. I was like, yes. Where has this been the whole movie?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I didn't hate it. Just like I said, I'm right in the middle. Just kind of maybe doing this may lean me one way or the other, but we will see. So yeah. So what do you think we should really begin with here?
Well, I think we can start with I want to start. I want you to think about the movie like this.
Okay.
Most of the movie, I feel like, could be summed up as, what's the worst case scenario? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially in this first part of the film. The first part of the film is Beau experiencing what we would consider the worst case scenario of any situation he's in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really kind of like that, because we're ramping up this level of anxiety and this level of just neuroticism. And for instance, when you forget something in your room and you have your key in your lock, you might think to yourself, what if someone takes it? But that's probably not going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yet here we are, right? Both his suitcase and his keys gone, and he was barely gone for less than 10 seconds, right? And him missing his flight. And what I love is, obviously this part ramps up more and more and more, is outside of his apartment complex, it's pure chaos, right? It is a wasteland. It is worst case scenario of what it's like on a busy metropolitan city outside, right?
To quote my wife, because Ashley watched the first 20 minutes with
Mm-hmm.
me, and then was like, I'm gonna go play Sims now. But she was like, what in the Gotham City hell?
Yeah.
She was like, where's Batman?
Yeah. Again, it's worst case scenario, right? So when he has to go get that water, right? Because he doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very important. And I am going to literally tell you guys to watch Spinkaman movies on YouTube. He has an incredible analysis of Beau is Afraid, and it has to do with water. So we're going to get to that. But
Okay.
when he's going across the street to the bodega to get his water, right? He has to leave the door open because he doesn't have his keys, right? And worst case scenario is someone's going to notice, someone's going to go in, right? What's the worst of the worst case scenario is they're going to know exactly what apartment he's in and know that it's unlocked, right?
Yeah.
What are the odds they're going straight to his apartment, right? But again, you know that's exactly what's going to happen, right? Because you can feel that's what he's afraid of, and so of course that's exactly what's going to take place, right?
Right.
It also doesn't help that later we find out that the gentleman, there's a gentleman who is, I think, all in red, and he's got like long hair and a beard, and the guy with all the tattoos, like they all work for Mona, right? They all work for MW in some way. Nathan Lane as well, right? So again, I love this idea of worst case scenario plot points, right? Pushing Beau to his limit. And also, what we would later realize is pushing him more to realizing how worthless he is without Mona at all, right? Because once he defies Mona by not getting on the plane, not going to visit, his credit card is declined, his water's shut off, and he doesn't have his keys, right? Once everything sort of settles down and, you know, he's gonna make it up to her, water's turned back on, everyone's left his apartment, except for the one. And he got, you know, and he's gonna be on his way, right? So yeah. Again, once you realize that Mona has complete control, right? It doesn't completely make sense because the movie's not supposed to completely make sense, I don't think. I think there's supposed to be representations of anxieties, of guilt, of control, of lack of control, of emasculation, you know, of depression and, you know, just feeling worthless, right? And again, feeling like you're not in control of your own life, which Beau is not. I feel like that's really what the movie is doing, and it does very well because, again, every time Beau is in a situation, it goes horribly, right? Especially when, you know, like, even just added stuff. I love that when he gets hit by that car, when Amy Ryan hits him with the car, and, you know, he's, you know, his side is cut open, he's bruised, he's got road rash all over him. And then when he asks about his hand, again, this is the darkly funny stuff. She's like, well, there was an incident. And the serial stabber had gotten him in the hand.
What is it, like the birthday boy
Yeah.
stabber or something like that? Which, I'll be honest, that made me laugh. I was like, birthday boy stabber?
Yeah. And
yeah,
just an added bonus of not only did he get hit by a car, but he also got stabbed 37 times in the hand, you know?
Yeah. Hang on, let me see. Let me make sure I got that right. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, and see, and this is where, okay, I would say this would be Act 2 when he's with Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this is where the movie was starting to lose me, but this is definitely where the movie was getting me to be like, okay, why? Particularly with Tony, because I knew there was something up with Nathan Lane. Nathan is so good in situations like this with sort of like, there's something off about this person, but they're really cheery, so it's hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
Also, I will say, shout out to Ari Aster for getting the Mountain to play Jeeves. If anyone is a Game of Thrones fan out there, that actor played the Mountain in Game of Thrones, the Hound's brother.
Is it true?
Have you seen Game of Thrones? Yeah, I think. I don't know. I
didn't know who that was.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, because his name is Denis. Oh, I'm a dumb boy.
Not the same guy?
No. He was the farmer in Inglourious Bastards.
Still, pretty good get.
Yeah, real good get. Who the fuck was I thinking then? It doesn't matter. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I already put my foot in my mouth. Not even gonna worry about it. It's because I think they have similar facial structures.
I agree.
But anyway. But yeah, no, Tony, their daughter. I was like, why? Like, okay, like I understand. Like, okay. Let's take this to a family drama just for a second.
Okay.
I get what Ari is trying to say, that the family is sort of trying to fill the void of their dead son with someone else. So that point I get, like, at least from Tony's perspective.
Sure.
Obviously, in context of the story, they're just monitoring him for Mona. At least Nathan Lane is. Amy Ryan might be trying to fill the void of their dead son. But Tony is already at a 10. Like, which again, I understand it's a surrealist movie, so of course she would already be at a 10. It wouldn't be a slow burn, she has to already be up here, which again I get, but I'm just like,
what if
why?
What if I framed it differently for you?
Okay, frame it differently for me.
What if I frame it like this? Because she does mention, Tony herself mentions a test, right? And Beau's like, I don't know, what do you mean by that? Well, what do you mean? What if I framed it as Gawain's game? Okay, what if I frame it to you as these are tests that Mona is presenting to him to pass or fail? Okay. If I were to put him in this situation and he invades a person's space, right? By invading her bedroom, Tony's bedroom. And then what if I give him, which she does mention at the end, what if I give him an opportunity to inconvenience someone yet get to me earlier? Will he take it? Right? Will he inconvenience someone to get to me early? And will he invade someone's space? And like, and just because people say it's okay, continue to do so, right?
Okay.
What I'm trying to get at is, will he feel guilty about these things? Guilt is the main factor of this entire film, right? And will he make the right decision? Mona on the phone says to him, I know you'll do the right thing, right? And so throughout the movie, he's presented with these opportunities from Mona's perspective, okay? For her to do the right thing for her, right? Now, I will also mention that MW produced the movie, okay?
I remember a lot of people breaking down like, that's interesting.
because what we're watching is Mona putting Beau through trials, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because, like, again, and even at the forest, with the orphans of the forest,
Yeah.
he gives her the figurine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a test, right? If this woman is so kind to him, right, almost like a motherly figure, will he take that bait, right? Will he accept this kindness? Will he accept this, to me, right? Now, that's what it
Mm-hmm.
feels like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, Richard Kind brings up that instance during the trial, right?
Right. Which, dude, shout out to Richard Kind, man. When I heard his voice, I was like, that's Richard Kind. I was
Yeah.
like, we better see him in this movie. And we did.
Whew.
So, again, shout out
I
to
mean,
Ari Aster for...
barely, right?
I know. But
Home stretch.
I don't care.
I know.
I don't care. We still got him. Okay. No. That makes more sense. Okay. That makes sense.
Because, again, this is all about... See, Ari Aster, grew up in a, I would assume, very culturally, and I guess I can assume religiously, Jewish household, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, are we going to talk about that he called this Jewish Lord of the Rings?
His name is Ari.
Yeah.
So he said that this film really is... It's really just for him, right? He made a movie for himself. And so he understands this sort of deep-seated, culturally significant, guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like Catholic guilt, but way worse, I would assume, right? Because Catholic guilt, you disappoint Christ and God, whom I've never met. Yet, in Jewish guilt, you disappoint your mother, who you have met, right? Way worse.
Uh-huh.
So...
Wait, hang on. Pause just for a second. It's funny because now things are starting to make sense just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Because I think I've mentioned on the show, I really love Nick Kroll and his friend Andrew Goldberg's show Big Mouth on Netflix. And there is an episode in season 2 where Andrew, voiced by our boy John Mulaney, is feeling shame. And so he goes to his rabbi to try to understand that feeling. And Rabbi Paul Blart, voiced by Nick Kroll, it goes, we Jews, we do not feel shame. We feel guilt.
Yeah.
So now it's all starting to kind of make sense. And if I'm being honest, I'm starting to lean towards the I don't like it now. Because you're right. These tests are from Mona's perspective.
Yes.
Especially, again, that last 35 minutes, I was like, this is it, man. This is what I was waiting for. Because, yeah, she feels like he's been a bad son, but truth be told, at least what I was watching, I didn't think he was being a bad son at all.
Well, he's not, right?
Yeah.
Again, these are from a delusional high expectation from Mona, right? And so if you can kind of understand that, you can kind of understand what she's seeing and what she means by this, right? And what she means by this betrayal, or by this slight, or by him. He should be feeling guilty because of this reason, right? If you can kind of understand her perspective, you get it, right? Even though it's delusional and crazy, and she has this such high standard of what she feels like she's owed, right? Because her love is transactional, right? Her love is not unconditional with Beau.
Yeah, especially, well, and we'll get there, but I definitely want to bring up, especially because you said that, he says that in his therapy session, that if I didn't reciprocate that same amount, she felt like I didn't love her. Even though Mona just gave this monologue about how, my mother blamed me for how her mother raised her, and I was never going to do that to my son. But it's like, well, sounds like you kind of are.
Yeah, the cycle has not been broken. Even though she feels like it has, because of probably the life she has provided for Beau, right? She has created this juggernaut of a company and this brand, and
that he's sort of been the face of.
Yes,
a little
bit. He has been the face.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, this movie is just perfect for, let me pause and let me look around, because there's so much, right? Especially in her office area of her home.
Yeah, I definitely was. I think that's another reason why Ashley didn't want to watch it with me. I was pausing a little bit more frequently to be like, oh, what does that say? Okay, all right.
I feel like a lot of the graffiti in the apartment complex was important, but I'm like, I don't have the time to just sit here and just that's crazy.
Well, and of course it's purposefully smushed together, so you really got to be like,
yeah,
that's an A, yeah,
it's nuts.
But okay, anyway, yeah, I was kind of getting ahead, but yeah. One more thing I want to add.
Her love is transactional, is what I meant. And before you go on, her voicemail is also passive aggressive, because it's leave me a message if you ever want to hear from me again. Right?
Yeah,
that's transactional. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one more thing about the Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane sequence. Dude, does Ari Aster have some fetish with people dying in really strange ways? Like Midsummer opens with Danny's whole family dying of carbon monoxide poisoning, and her sister taping the tube to her mouth. And then in this one, we watch Tony ingest paint.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Well,
like,
Haley was sitting next to me. She was in the room while I watched it, periodically paying attention. And she goes, could you die that fast from drinking paint? I go, you do in a surrealism movie. She goes, got it. Because, again, everyone either overreacts or underreacts, right? That's really one of the hallmarks of surrealism, is overreaction and underreaction, right? And I do love this, this section or this faction of surrealism, because things come out of nowhere and it's so fast sometimes, right? Like her dying so fast from drinking the paint is jarring, right? It's bizarre, and it's hard to wrap your head around because it happened so fast, and her eyes were so scary looking, because they were red and bloodshot, and so fast, right? So, right. The Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan stuff is really interesting, because it also indicates that Amy Ryan knows what's going on and is trying to help, right? Because, again, she leaves that note that says, stop incriminating yourself. And, again, you and I don't see it as incriminating, but Mona would interpret these things, and these things that he's saying and doing are incriminating him, right? Are leading her to believe that he doesn't love her enough, right?
Right.
Or isn't doing enough for her, right? Even so far as, and this is a good segue to the forest, even in his fantasies, right? Even in what we would consider a best case scenario for Beau, he still doesn't quite get the happy ending, right?
Sure, he gets the family and the kids, but then they're taken from him,
right?
and he has to spend his whole life trying to find them again.
And even when he does, they could never exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the forest. Okay. The play part of this film, you're right, is incredible.
Yeah, love it.
Definitely a high point of this film. For people who hate this film, you're gonna like this. Okay.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
And you get James Gandolfini's son in this sequence too, man.
Is that true?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is he one of the...
he play?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's one of the sons. I'm like 90% certain. Because didn't he play young Tony Soprano in The Many Saints of Newark?
Yes.
See, aren't you proud of me? I've never seen a single episode of The Sopranos.
Also, I'm a huge fan of, I believe you say, Julian Richings, is his name, who I know from things like Kingdom Hospital, and he was also Death in Supernatural. If you,
that's right. Yep.
Huge fan. Okay.
Yeah. So that was Michael Gandolfini. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
As one of the sons. I think the redheaded one.
In this sequence, the play sequence, there's a lot to do with water, right? And again, we'll get to that a little bit later when I mention the video and how that all connects. That Mona is represented as water throughout the film. A little tease. But I just love how this looks. I love the practicality of the sets by making them feel at least partly as if they were actually a part of a stage production. I really like the trees. If you were to quarter turn them, it's a different season. Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Or quarter turn them and they're different trees, right? Or they're cacti in some cases. It's amazing. Truly creative in the way that this sequence is presented to you. I couldn't get enough of it. When it was over, I was so sad. And I really, really enjoyed it. I love it's like a mini movie in this movie, because it's like it takes the idea of the tragic passage of time that I really enjoy in films, where a time that passed you by that you can't get back. Love it.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's sort of that overlaying of guilt that he feels because the angel, or whoever she is, sort of guilts him. And it's really interesting the way she does it, because it's not fair, right? You kind of feel that it's not fair when she's saying it, where she said, yes, you were searching, but did you ever to bother that people were searching for you? Right? It's like, well, like she says it to him as if it were selfish for him to go out there and search and not stay put, right?
Well, and because then he asks, was it like, what did I do? And she goes, you know what?
Yeah. And once he confesses, which is alluded to with his confessions, the ground fills with good water, right? Again, we'll get to the water later. But that's fascinating. And again, he can't escape the guilt even in this fantasy world. And I did like that even in this fantasy world, he's being hunted down by a dog. Which is
Jeeves.
Right, Jeeves. In this case. And after the forest, and he gets knocked unconscious again, each sequence is preempted by him getting knocked unconscious. Which is funny. He finally gets to go home, right? And this is really interesting because we get a lot of clues. Again, this movie is not, quote, solvable, but we do get a lot of clues as to what is going on, at least in sort of a generic way, in a generic fashion, what is going on in this part of the story. And I did notice it the first time I saw it, is the mark on the top of the hand, right?
Yeah, I clocked that.
Yeah. I go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that's important, right? Or why bother putting makeup on someone's hand, right?
Yeah.
I did like that as he's going down the staircase, looking at all the pictures. The last picture is him getting the news of his dead mother on the phone.
Yeah, I was like, that's a recent photo.
Yeah. Again, looking at the photos, the collage photos, a la the poster for the Truman Show, that make up Mona's face. You can see Parker Posey, who he's staring at, right? He's focusing on Elaine, but if you look, you see Nathan Lane.
You see Roger.
Yeah, you see the guy with the tattoos. And in one other photo, you can see the guy who drove him to Mona's house. Not in that photo, but in like a different poster, you can see his picture there. So like it's all like everyone's involved, right?
Yeah.
He was supposed to pick him up, right? Which is fascinating. And then when Elaine shows up, I guess we can backtrack a little bit to the flashbacks of them on the cruise, where he meets Elaine. And in Zoe Lister-Jones, I love her. I love her performance. New Girl fans will know her as one of Schmidt's girlfriends.
Yeah, that is Fawn Moscato.
That's right.
City councilwoman.
That's right.
My favorite line she ever says in her brief little time that she's on New Girl is when Nick's making his sauce, that whole episode, and she goes, "My friend, this tastes like the inside of a bear," and that's a compliment. And Nick is like, "Yes, like thank you." But yeah, she's great. She's fantastic in this.
Yeah, I mean, they could not have picked someone better to be a young Patti LuPone.
I do want to point in these flashbacks, it definitely seems like Mona is almost a completely, like, I understand she's being played by a different actress, but she is almost like a completely different person in these flashbacks that we see at the end of the film.
Yeah,
the older version of Mona.
I do see the Zoe Lister-Jones Mona as a little bit more compassionate. I mean, there are some moments and some flashbacks, like the dream, for instance, where she is very hostile, right? And not very nurturing or mothering, right? And of course, in the sequence where you have the nightlight, with the fish, that is a version of planting a seed of an idea in Beau's head to control him later, right? Saying that if he were to ejaculate, he will die, essentially, right? And so that is manipulative. That is wrong. That's bad, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. Some parts of On the Cruise are, her not being manipulative and not being so horrible. Elaine seems to be the one that's manipulative and controlling, which is interesting because Beau seems to keep finding himself in these situations, where he finds someone to control him or to take the reins over his actions and his feelings, and that's Elaine in this case, which is really interesting because when we see her as an adult, it's the same, right? She's very controlling and very pushy and bossy, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mona doesn't seem to be that way on the cruise segments.
I wonder if that was Ari to throw us off, to make us really think that Beau has been a terrible son.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. Gosh, I don't know. I did love the way the cruise looked. It was very surreal the way it looked because, the stars are a little too bright. It's like when they're outside at any given moment, there's too many stars, and they seem to shine a little too much, which I do like. The dead guy in the pool is probably super important. I
think so. Maybe.
I haven't quite figured that one out yet. With the water thing we're going to talk about later is maybe has something to do with it. Not sure. Regardless. So, right. Elaine. So he meets Elaine, he makes a connection, says he'll wait for her, all that stuff, right? She and her mother work for Mona. They work for MW, okay? Because she is in, Elaine as a child is in some advertisements, and her mother is seen either in advertisements or in those pictures or in some other pictures in the office. So they're sort of in on it too, right? You could argue that I'm just not thinking about this now that we're talking out loud, is that Mona may have put her up to it to wait for this dream girl, right? That way she doesn't have to worry about him finding someone else in the meantime, right?
Okay.
Haven't thought about that. Okay. Because that would make sense why they were able to come into the room in the first place, and so she could drag her away in this big dramatic fashion, right? This could all have been this giant manipulation now that I'm thinking about it, because she's the one, Mona's the one who encouraged him to talk to her in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And of course they work for MW, so this could be a years, decades long manipulation.
Con. Yeah.
Because if she convinces him that he has met the love of his life at such a young age, and that she can make her disappear for a while, he won't find another woman and have less to do with Mona, right? That makes more sense now that I'm thinking about it. And that explains the entire cruise sequence, because where she seems more level-headed and more nurturing, she isn't, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. But then it begs the question, was them having sex at her wake part of the plan?
I think it was another test. Right?
Okay. So it's like, now I'm going to bring your dream girl back into the picture. Do you think the test was that he was meant to reject Elaine?
Yes. Either reject Elaine or definitely not have sex in Mona's bed. On the day of her funeral. I think she, I don't know what she was wanting necessarily. I think the point is not to know her motivations, because her motivations wax and wane depending on her own agenda and her own desires. And it's all about her, right? These are her selfish needs and wants. So I think the point is we don't know, because Beau doesn't know. How is he to know, right? Because she's one way one day, the next day she's completely different, and it's so confusing, and that's why it's so hard to please her, right? And in this instance, by the way, her Elaine, basically you know, I guess freezing or being stuck in that, you know, in that pose is so bizarre. And that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting and kind of funny. Yet I had no idea why, you know? And I don't think talking to him is going to help in this case.
Yeah, because like everything I could find about that just said she died and was frozen in that pose. I'm like, but how?
And why?
She got rigor mortis almost immediately.
Yeah. Which is really interesting, right? And I'm not sure what to make of that. I like it and I think it's funny, but I don't know what the meaning behind it is. And again, it's probably one of those things that doesn't have one.
Also, right before she dies, I literally paused the movie and told Ashley that this was the grossest thing I've ever heard put to film, which is you blasted through that bag.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Like, gross.
I honestly, the funniest line in the whole movie. If you blasted through the bag. It's really funny. And who calls it a bag? It doesn't matter, but it's really funny. I'm like, hey, Parker, gross. Have some class.
Gross. Yeah, you're about to die, so chill.
And you do, I noticed it this go around that you do see his gigantic testicles.
Dude, look. This could sound like I was looking. I swear to God, I wasn't looking, but the first time, I
don't know how I missed it the first time.
I clocked it immediately when he was getting in the bath.
Oh yeah, getting in the bathtub, you totally see them, and you can even tell that he must have wore them while wearing his wardrobe because you can tell that they're in there, like in his jeans. His massive testicles just cluttering up his pants.
What now? Okay. Nathan Lane brings it up.
Mm-hmm.
Are we meant to assume that that's just him going all his life without ejaculating?
You know what? Possibly. I think it might be that, which is very funny, or it is just a serious medical condition that he has. But I like that. I like that, he has he has neglected him, or he has made himself never ejaculate because he's so terrified of it, right? That makes perfect sense to me. Full stop. That's probably why he has gigantic testicles.
What you're saying is he's a member of NoFap?
Yeah, listen, man, he edges like no one's business.
I don't even think he would risk doing that, dude.
Beau would never edge.
Makes me think of Van Wilder with the bulldog who has giant testicles, and then they get him to come.
Yeah.
And they're normal sized.
I think that might be what I never thought of it. That he obviously has never ejaculated because he's so afraid of it, right? That makes perfect sense. Boom. Another mystery unlocked. This movie.
Call Zach Bragan of Ghost Hunters and tell him we solved the case.
This movie gets better by the minute. But hey, we are now into the territory of you liked this movie starting now.
Yes. Yeah. With the reveal of Mona being alive and her just relentless berating of him. Like, dude, and then it's revealed that his therapist has been on it too. I was like, this is what's up.
By the way, probably one of my favorite performances because it's so understated and it's all he's doing is smiling, right?
Yeah.
It's very scary and it's reminiscent of Hereditary, with some of the members of the cult. I loved it. And hang on, what is his name? He is incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Thank you. I am a huge fan. I'm so sorry I don't know his name.
Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Thank you. He is a Alex Garland regular.
Yep.
I am a big fan. So
yeah, he's fantastic as the Mentat in Dune.
I wish he was in Dune too. But who can't get everything.
I guess we're meant to believe that he got killed.
We need rainy days to appreciate sunny ones, and I guess that's just one of the rainy days.
Oh no, he actually did film scenes in part 2, but they were deleted because it says he's credited in deleted scenes for Dune Part 2.
That's a real shame. I guess we'll have to check our deleted scenes in our forecast to see.
On our forecast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I loved the understated part of his of this section of the movie. It's very creepy, very eerie. I want your thoughts of the attic, and then we'll get to what I think.
Okay. Before I get to the attic, one of the other parts about this part that I really, really like is that Beau is kind of standing up to her.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole, I knew you weren't dead. That was Martha. Like, how could you do that to her? You know? And the fact that he's going to leave and not engage in this.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. I'm like, again, this is where I was like, yes. So the attic. So we see the twin brother, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, it wasn't a dream. Because he's been dreaming about a twin brother, or another Beau.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting a giant fucking penis monster. I'm sorry, because I looked it up. Penis shaped. It's not actually a penis, even though that's a full cock, dick, nuts, and balls.
Yeah.
Just fucking standing upright, like the first episode of fucking Big Mouth when they animated that. Like, anyway, and the fact that it talks, I sat up on the couch and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
But it did make me laugh that he was like, Beau, my beautiful boy. Like, that did make me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, don't be afraid. Like, and the fact that his twin is just sitting there like, yeah, that's dad. Like, that made me laugh. But I was just like, what is happening?
So I have theories.
Tell me your theories.
Well, sorry, my cat's being stupid. One is we're not supposed to take everything we see literally, right? Like, that's not the point.
Okay. Okay.
Do I think that other Beau is there? No. I don't think okay. When he's having these recurring dreams about the other Beau standing up to his mother, right? And she throws him in the attic. And we're seeing the outcome of that here at the end. I think he's supposed to represent a Beau that stood up to his mother, right? Because that's what he did, right? He stood his ground. He stood up to her. And this is what happens, right? This is the worst case scenario of what if I stood up to my mother, right? So he represents, this other Beau represents what it would be like if Beau were to be true to himself and not let his mother control him anymore. This is what it would be like. Emaciated and starving on the floor, right? The penis-shaped monster is sort of like, it is to represent his father, but Mona's interpretation of his father, which is just a reproductive organ to get her a son, right?
Okay.
Like, he doesn't matter, right? That's all he's good for. That's all he was good for, right?
Okay.
The fact, if Mona is telling the truth about his father, ejaculating then dying, if that's even true at all, it doesn't matter, right? Did he get sick of Mona and just abandon Mona and Beau one day? Maybe. Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? What matters in this movie is the relationship between Beau and Mona, and the fact that there is no father in the picture at all, right? How that happened, who's to say? But the penis-shaped monster is the representation of how Mona views Beau's dad, right? And how she has manipulated Beau to believe the same, right? That's my interpretation. Again, surrealism is a lot of fun for this purpose, right? To sort of keep things together like that.
Well, and that makes sense, because on the one hand, like, Jeeves shows up out of nowhere. After I thought for sure he was fucking dead in the forest when he falls on his own gun.
He only got his shoulder, man.
But it was going down, bro. It looked like it was going down.
I don't know what to tell you. Was it there or not?
But it seems like no one seems to react to the glass breaking upstairs when Jeeves breaks through like a 3rd-story window.
Yeah. I know.
Anyway, but that also makes sense. The theory also makes sense because I was paying attention to the architecture of the home, which also, again, what the fuck is with Ari Aster and weirdly shaped homes?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but when Beau's walking out to the lake, I was like, that attic, that's not regulation size, homie. Like, that doesn't look like it would be big enough to hide a giant penis monster. So, which again makes sense why it's just representation that it probably wasn't actually there.
Well, again, even if it was there, right? Like, again, I don't think you're supposed to think about the movie that way because then it discounts the other surreal, right? So
right.
I think it can all exist in a way that it all is supposed to be representations of something else, right?
Right.
Yeah. And now we're gearing up to the part of the movie that made me the most giddy, which was the trial, right?
The clearly very unfair trial.
I couldn't believe it. He gets on that boat, and you're like, he's finally at peace, Yeah. He has strangled his mother, seemingly killed her.
Yeah, seemingly, but obviously not.
And he's finally at peace. Then, he goes through this cave, perhaps representing a womb.
Well, I mean, the movie opens with him being born, so...
Right. Him being born and then him, seemingly going back in. And, dude, the lights turn on and it's an arena. I mean, I was so giddy. I was like, this is awesome. This is pure surrealism, at its best. And then we get Richard Kind, and it's incredible.
Yeah, well, and again, I'm sold. I'm like, this. Why wasn't this the whole movie? And yeah, dude, I was so happy when I was like, Richard Kind is in the movie. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, the trial aspect is amazing because, again, we see the loud, obtuse prosecution and the very soft, quiet, not microphoned defense. And he got midsummered because he he fell and
into that rock.
Yeah, into that rock. He got thrown onto the rock.
Yeah.
Which I like, again, because this is really what the movie's all about, right? Is an overwhelming sense of guilt, an unfair judgment, and an unheard defense, right?
Yeah.
Because these things that he has seemingly done and that he's guilty of are not his fault, or a misunderstanding, or a manipulation on someone else's part. And again, Beau is too weak to defend himself or think for his own self-interest. And it all culminates in him just finally giving up, and just letting go.
Yeah, and I would definitely say this is where he's at peace. He's like, you know what?
The only way he can get peace.
Yeah.
And did you see in the very beginning of the movie, this movie is spoiled for you?
How so?
When Beau leaves his therapist's office and he's walking and he's on the phone, and he buys the figurine, as he's walking towards that kiosk, there's a boy playing with a boat. A remote control boat.
I did see that.
And it flips upside down.
And the mom's like, "You will stay by my side." And
that's right.
Pulls him.
That's basically, in a nutshell, the movie, right?
Yeah.
So, water.
Yeah, you've been hinting at this.
Again, if we could all just take a moment and thank Speakima Films, Speakima Movies, SPIKIMA movies on YouTube. Incredible videos.
Hopefully Future Rain, which he's coming rapidly, will remember to actually credit that, which hopefully he will.
Again, incredible videos. I've seen lots and lots of film analysis videos from this guy. His one on Beau is Afraid is focused more on how Mona is represented by water in the film, because Mona is either completely absent in his life or overwhelming in his life, right? So when he first gets those pills and he needs to take them with water, right? He has to take them with water. Or he'll die, right? He defies his mother. He misses his flight. Water's cut off from the building. She controls the building, right? So now he's desperately trying to find water, right? And so when he finally gets the water, he's unable to pay for it, right? Because she controls his money. And once things crescendo settle down, he realizes the error of his ways, whatever. Water's turned back on. But when he turns the water back on, he gets the phone call, or he calls and realizes that his mother has passed. The water overflows, right?
Yeah. After Bill Hader tells him that he found the body.
Bill Hader, right? Shout out to Bill Hader. Didn't think we'd see him, but here we are. Yeah. And so again, the water overflows, and in that shot, it's sort of reaching out to him as well on the floor. And then he almost drowns in the tub when that guy falls on him. I'm also not sure what to make of the brown recluse.
Yeah. So when we see it in his apartment, I told Ashley, I was like, "What is this, Chekhov's spider?"
It's Chekhov's spider right there, yeah.
I mean, he's going to come back in the third act
sooner. It pays off almost immediately.
I know, dude.
So,
which, sidebar?
Yeah,
I'm deathly afraid of brown
Me too.
Recluses.
Me too.
Just because I've told like what their venom can do, and I'm just terrified.
I'll put your mind at ease.
Anyway,
I saw a video recently of a guy talking about getting bit by one. He's perfectly fine. No skin damage. He waited like a day or so after he was bit. So you're fine.
Fuck that, bro. I would have been at the doctor's immediately.
I'm just saying you don't have to be there immediately. That's all I'm saying. So,
dude, I'd be pulling a Daniel Stern from City Slickers 2, telling someone to suck out the poison.
wow, that's a super niche reference. Anyway, so,
anyone seen City Slickers 2?
oh yeah.
Search for Curly's Gold.
Wow, what do you think the crossover is between our one listener and people who have seen City Slickers 2? You think that Venn diagram crosses over?
What if I was about to say, what if that one reference towards the end of this episode is what gets people to watch this shit?
Like, oh shit, I didn't know
they're searching on YouTube.
Gold.
They're like, like City Slickers 2. Oh, this episode right here, what is this?
What is that?
And they have to listen to the whole thing before we finally pay it off for them.
You fucks. All right. So, okay. So that's in that part. The other is one of the other examples of water is in the fantasy sequence of the play, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The water, separates his family, which is, fine, right? Because he is reunited with his family. But again, when he confesses to, what he has done, which is bullshit because he hasn't done anything, right? The ground appears with good water, right?
Drinkable water.
Because he is, confessing these sins that he has committed to no one, and he has done nothing, right? Frequently, we see shots of underwater. Again the dreams, the nightmare sequences of him in the bath, and are important. Him being born at the very beginning, the amniotic fluid, that water, and of course drowning at the end.
And shout out to my wife who's not listening. She called it almost instantly. She was like, "That's a vagina right there," and I was like, I don't know. And it was before we even got the actual shape.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, I think you're right. She's like, called it.
She knows it. An expert.
But yeah, no, that is interesting because it almost seems like whenever his mother is involved, water seems to be even with when he's with Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, she's like, drink lots of water.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And
interesting.
I know, isn't that fascinating? Again, this guy goes into a lot more detail, and he's a lot more well spoken than I am. Again, there are people on YouTube and on TikTok that should be teaching college courses on film analysis. They're just brilliant, and I strive to get to their level. Is the goal.
I think you are.
No, wait till you watch the video. You're going to be like, this guy's on another level. He's so good. I am such a huge fan. Anyway, so that's Beau is Afraid. Do you like the movie more or less now?
Okay. Honest opinion. I really thought while we were discussing the whole tests, I was like, oh, I'm starting to lean towards I hate it because this is a very subjective view from Mona's perspective. But it also kind of fed into what Ari Aster said about the film, which is he wanted audiences to know what it was like to be a total loser. But I would say that marker has ticked slightly to I like it.
Okay.
And I say slightly, I'd say about 2%.
Hey, that's
so if I'm here in the middle. I'm right about here now.
Okay. Hey man, that's about as good as I can hope for, I guess.
Well, it's because it's given me a lot to think about now, kind of because of reframing the movie. Because not until it's overtly stated in the trial sequence that these were tests, which, I mean, as I've been saying, good on Ari Aster for kind of hiding that from the audience. But yeah, it makes me kind of like, okay, maybe I should rewatch this.
I think maybe you should.
Not necessarily.
it gives you a different perspective on it. It gives you more to look for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And think of it kind of like the Green Knight. Again, it's sort of like a delusional, guilt-ridden, manipulative Green Knight, to a total loser, instead of a hero. I would say, yeah.
Well, and again, okay. Well, here, let me put it like this to you. If I were to rank the 3 Ari Aster films, again, keep in mind I've never seen Midsommar.
Jesus Christ, so you can't do any?
Don't plan on seeing it, so that's at the bottom of the list.
Unbelievable.
Essentially, this is number 1 for me.
It would have to be. It's the only one we've seen.
And I've seen Hereditary, just not all of it.
That does not count. That does not.
But no, I mean, there were things about it I really liked. There were things about it I found confusing. None of it I disliked. I was just like, huh, okay. I would say the only thing maybe is the penis monster. And dude, Jeeves stabs his balls, man. I mean, come on. You can't do that.
It's so outlandish and bombastic that, people who see the movie, that's what they're going to be fixated on. I'm like, that.
I was just about to ask you. Yeah. I was just about to ask you, when you first told me you finally saw this movie, you told me that the critics focused on one thing and one thing only. And you never told me what that was. I'm assuming it was the penis monster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mean, that's not the thing to focus on.
Since I hadn't seen the movie when you first told me, I assumed it was maybe the theme of the movie.
Oh.
Which I was very worried, especially during the cruise sequence, that the theme was almost going to be incest.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we all know Ari Aster, his student film was all about that. Jesus Christ.
Oh, speaking of student film, there is a short film called Beau.
Beau. Yeah, I read that a lot of people were like, "Oh, is this a continuation of that?"
Yes. So I saw it twice. I watched it twice yesterday. It's only 6 minutes. So,
well, I feel like I read that Ari said it's not. That
it's not really. There are moments that are the same. The overall tone and the point is different, but it's more of a horror short than anything. It's not like
these characters just happen to be named Beau.
It's really just Beau. That's it. Ari Aster is in it. He makes a cameo. There's really only like 5 people in the whole thing. And it's really just a paranoid fever dream is really what it is.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. So, and what you're referring to is there's a strange thing about the Johnsons, which I think is one of the most incredible short films I've ever seen.
That you and Alex made me watch, and thank God we didn't finish it.
It's amazing because it's giving you a new perspective on this horrible thing that makes you think more about it, which is crazy. I mean, it's amazing. It is disturbing. It is not for everyone, but I would encourage people to go on YouTube and watch There's a Strange Thing About the Johnsons, because again, it turns this horrible situation people find themselves in, if they're unfortunate enough to be in that situation. It flips it and gives you a new perspective, which makes you truly understand the repercussions of this horrible thing. So I think it does its job, and I think it's wonderful. So you should see it. Or don't.
I will not.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, with that, I would say we have sufficiently wrapped up.
I got to see my buddy and my cousin Dave, my cousins Dave and Kayla over last week, and Dave said that he'll find himself saying wrap up when he's finishing something.
So what you're saying is we stole that from 30 Rock and have made it now more popular?
Yes. By
Nice.
one person.
Nice. Suck it, Tina Fey.
Yeah.
No, Tina Fey, we love you.
No, yeah. You're
right. All right, buddy. Well, are you ready to hear what we're going to talk about next week?
I
am. So initially what I had planned was we were going to do, to follow up our, apparently disappointing second episode of season 10, and do Blade Runner 2049. But since we ended up taking 2 weeks off,
oops.
It's okay. I mean, it's not okay for what you had to go through, but it's okay of where it lands. Which I'm going to double check and make sure I didn't plan this badly. Because if I did, I'm going to be so fucking mad at myself. No, I did not. Okay. Thank fuck. So instead, we're going to be able to actually celebrate a film next week, which you already know because I told you that I was planning this. And also I kind of told Alex our release schedule. So next week, everyone, hang on, I got to do math real quick. I mean, I'm probably just going to round up because no one celebrates an odd number anniversary.
Sure.
No, it might as well be the 50th. Anyway, so because it was released in, so we're just gonna round up, or not. I don't care. Fuck it, we're not gonna round up. Anyway, so next week, everyone, we are celebrating the 49th anniversary of Steven Spielberg's Jaws. The movie was released June 20th, 1975, and now granted, the episode's going to come out a little bit before the actual anniversary, but the episodes will be released the same week. So I'm counting it. I'm counting it as a win.
Let's count
it. Yeah, we'll count it. We make our own rules.
That's right.
So I'm going to confess something to you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm going to confess something to you right now. I have never watched Jaws from start to finish. I have seen scenes. Yeah. I know the famous lines.
Yep.
And that's it.
It's really all you need. It's great. Everyone should see Jaws.
I distinctly remember my dad telling me that when he saw this movie when it came out, that it made him scared to go in the water for a long time.
Yeah. And I am in luck because Haley loves shark movies.
Well, I mean, in y'all's old place here in Midland, y'all had a whole shark bathroom.
That's right.
So.
We did. We like sharks in the Blair household. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, and you also have a shark tattooed on your arm.
I do. Sharks are cool, man. And
what you're saying is,
I'm excited to watch Jaws with Haley because Haley will finally not hate sitting down and watching a movie.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how I came up with this idea. I was when you'd sent me your list for season 10, I was like, well, I want to do something interesting for season 10, and I did the math, and I was like, oh man, when we do season 10, we're gonna land on the anniversary of the release of Jaws. Next year would be the 50th,
right. But who's got that kind of time?
Yeah, no. But yeah, man. So Jaws.
That's exciting.
Jaws. All right, everyone. Well, we hoped you enjoyed our episode back on Beau is Afraid, and we'll see you next week for the 49th anniversary of Jaws.